To start this second part, we're going to work on this bottom corner on the left hand side, and then once that piece is done, we'll work on the right side all together. So for this you're going to need piece U, piece S, piece R, piece AB, piece AA, piece AC, piece AD and piece T. So start with piece U and piece S, and we're going to glue fabric number 4 onto those. So just as you did before, the paper goes onto the wrong side of the fabrics. Now all of the other pieces have been sorted and they've all got 3 colours, so we're going to start like we did before. Start with your fabric that says R or 1, and you're going to put your piece onto it and trim the edges down so that you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance where you join. You're now going to go and add piece 2, which is your background fabric, to all of your pieces. Next you're going to add fabric 3 to all of your pieces. Now lay them out on your board or table in the positions that the picture shows you. First we're going to add R to AB, and then we will add AA to that. So that's those first 3 joined together. You might find it easier if you actually remove the papers in those seam allowance as you go. We're now going to add piece S onto the top, matching the single hash lines to the seams. Remember to take out all the papers in your seam allowance and then place that piece onto your board to one side while we work on the next piece. We're now going to add AC to AD and match up with the crosses. Then add piece T, and then once that's done, take out all the papers from in your seam allowance. Next add piece U. Don't forget to match up your single hash lines to your seams. Now we're going to join those 2 pieces together, and that will make your second quarter, matching up the crosses and the hash lines as you go. Take out all the papers from your seam allowance and give a really good press. Time to join those first 2 quarters together. Match up all your double hash lines, your stars and your single hash lines, and you'll have your first half, and that's how it'll look when it's complete. Now let's start on the second half. You're going to need piece I, piece H, piece W and piece V to start with. We're going to do this second half all as one long piece rather than in the 2 quarters. So I didn't have enough fabric of my fabric 1, or the centre fabric, so I've switched it out, and in the grand scheme of things it's not going to matter for what I'm doing, but you'll obviously use your proper fabric for this piece. Put all your first fabric 1 onto those 3 pieces and stick them down and trim them up. Okay, if you make a mistake with the size of your fabric, don't panic. As you can see there, I've made an error. I haven't got enough to cover it. You just place another piece on top, and then you're going to stitch down that line. Once it's ironed back and pressed and trimmed, you won't really notice it once it's all sewn together. Now go ahead and add fabric 3 to all of those pieces, and then you're ready to sew them together. So lay them out how they are going to fit together so you know which pieces you need to sew, and then we'll begin to sew them together. So we're going to join W to V. Take the papers out of that seam allowance and press the seams open, and then we're going to add piece H. Now add piece I, matching up those single dash lines with the seams as you've done before. So there's that piece done, and as you can see from that bottom left hand corner, you can hardly even see where I've joined those extra background fabric to fill that gap in. It's hardly visible. Okay, now let's look at piece O. As you can see, it's got 4 pieces, but it actually hasn't. You can do it as 3, whereas that O3 and O4, that tiny little bit that says number 6 underneath it, this can actually be sewn as all one piece with the O3 piece. Now take all the rest of your pieces, and we're going to put the fabric one, the yellow, onto all of these pieces and get it prepped first. You'll see there are these 2 tiny pieces, a C and a K. I don't know where they go, so I'm not bothered about them. We'll just omit them. Don't worry about, just leave them out. So that's all the remaining pieces that are prepped now with fabric 1, and I'm now going to start and add fabric 2, which is the background, and then add fabric 3, and then all those pieces will then be ready to put together. If at any time you forget what you're supposed to be doing, go back and watch the part 1 video again. It will always be up there, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you need to, so that you can understand what you're doing. So here are the pieces with all of fabric 2 attached, and piece P, I didn't have enough fabric on one end, so I just added an extra piece to make it fit. Now we're going to add fabric 3 to all of these pieces, and then we'll get ready to put it all together. Now you're going to join E, M and L. It doesn't matter which order you join them together. You can join E to M first, or you can join M to L first. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. Remember to press the seams open and remove the papers from in that seam allowance. Next we're going to join F, O and N. Once again, it doesn't matter which order you do it. You can join F to O first, or you can join O to N first. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. Once again, press those seams open, and then once you've done that, you're going to remove the papers from in the seam allowance, and make sure that it lies flat, and that's what it's going to look like from the front. So now you go ready to work on the next piece. So the next pieces that you're joining are piece P, piece Q and piece G, and they'll be joined together at the seams. So that's the last piece that we've just done, with the seams pressed and the papers removed from the seam allowance. Now I just want to point out as well that if you are not going to do this in one session, then you need to remember to put your stitch length back down to a smaller stitch length each time you sew. Okay, let's get ready to join this last half together. First, you're going to join the piece that's got the M and L on it to the piece that's got the N and O on it, and we're going to join that down that seam. So that's what that looks like when those 2 pieces are joined together. And now you're going to add piece P, or the piece with piece P and F on it. So there we have the piece with piece P and Q and G, and we're going to join that to the ones that we've just joined together at F and G. Join the 2 together. Okay, now we're going to add piece A. And because of the way the pattern designed it, it didn't do it in a quarter. It's added an extra 1/8 on. So we're going to sew round, and at each intersection of the A, you're just going to turn the fabric so you can sew it a bit like a Y seam. So the first I'm going to sew is piece A2. I've made sure that my seams match up with the single hash lines, and I'm going to sew down as far as where I've drawn that pencil X, and then I'm going to leave my needle in the fabric whilst I turn and position it into the next piece ready to sew. Now I've taken it off the machine and I've manoeuvred it round, and I'm now going to sew from the 1X to where I've done the other pencil X, and then we'll take it off the machine again and then position it ready to do the last one. Just keep folding the back fabric out of the way, and now we're going to sew from the pencil cross all the way to the end, and then we'll make sure that we take the papers out of the lining, press the seams flat and give it a good press. Now the last piece to add on this half is adding the piece that's got V to the other piece. Just match up your X's and your single and double hash lines, and then that half will be done, ready to sew to the first half that you did, and then your piece is finished. Now sew all the way down that long bit, joining the two sides together. Take out the papers that are in the seam allowance and press your seam open, and then after that, at that point, then you can start and take out all your other papers. If you find when you're pulling your papers out that you get little bits of paper left in your seam, don't worry too much, it'll dissolve once it's been washed a few times. It'll come out anyway. So there's your final piece. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I've said before, this video and the first video will remain up, so you can keep going back and referring to them if you ever get stuck. I have noticed that where I join piece A, there are a couple of kinks in the fabric, even though I've starched it, but that will all come out once it's quilted.